All right, well, thank you for joining us for another Carnegie Spotlight. I'm here with Dave Neff, president of the board of directors for the museum. I am also on the board of directors as well as director of the Fairfield Media Center, which is bringing this Wow, I said chamber talk. That's different.
Yeah.
Carnegie Spotlight.
Carnegie Spotlight. That's it.
You get tongue-tied sometimes.
Well,
too many C's and different names.
And how many years did you do that? So that's
exactly
fine.
Right.
Totally understand.
So, Dave, what do we have on the docket? What are all the interesting things that are going on at the museum?
Let's share that with your participants here who are listening or watching or doing both on that. Tomorrow night, we are in our 31st month celebrating the heritage, 150-year, century, 100-year farms that are here in Jefferson County. And so December, we have a century farm, Yolanda Myers Farm, that's up close to the Packwood area, and been in the Myers family for a number of years. And so we're going to give that a run at 6 p.m., and do a video with the associate of yours or yourself that is going to help us on that. But in November, we were scheduled to do the Natty Farm, which was a heritage farm, but it was canceled. They had some other things and whatever, so we kicked off our first golden anniversary farm.
That's right.
And this was something that we want to celebrate 150 and above, 100 and above, and now 50 and above with the golden anniversary farm. Jake Schmidt is our curator director, and he found it easy to reach out to his mom and Carolyn Sid Schmidt, and her brother, his uncle, was the one that sat in on the interview and told the story of the farm with Myers there on that. But it has just been so successful. The turnouts that we have, the number of people that come for the video, and much less the number of people that come through to look at the exhibit that is on display for an entire month. But we kick it off for the first Friday Art Walk each month, and then we have a fresh one going from there. So,
it really is amazing the work that goes into doing these. All the way from the family and the volunteers who come in to help put in the displays each time,
yes,
which they do a wonderful job. FMC's Ariel Seawall, she films and records most of these when I'm not available.
Right.
And so she does a tremendous amount of work in that regard as well, in order to archive these, have them historically, and then also to be aired on the Fairfield Media Center. Right. And then, of course, the museum has copies of those and things of that nature. So a lot of work kind of goes into this stuff that a lot of people don't realize, but we always have really nice turnouts for these. We're usually adding chairs,
yes,
or we have people sitting on the stairwell to the old mezzanine and things like that. And so it's one of those things where if you're not a part of it, if you love history, come out, enjoy what the museum has to offer. The upstairs museum is also open during the art walks and things like that. So now that it's wintertime, you've got another nice warm place to go to and enjoy not only some Fairfield history, but Smithsonian history that was a part of Fairfield's past as well.
Well, we have dedicated this one area. Sandy Gillespie on our board had worked with it, and then we have another associate, you may recall his name, that helps out. But anyway, we have another volunteer that is there every month to help set up and have the presentation ready, so it's set to go for the first Friday Art Walk, and that'll be ready tomorrow evening, ready to kick it off for our December Century Farm, Yolanda Myers Farm in the Packwood area.
Awesome.
Good. Hey, Jason, you seem to get involved in looking long range. You don't just like to put out fires, but you like to say, what's that fire for 2 years, 3 years from now on there? So long range planning begins. We started this past Tuesday with a joint meeting of both our boards, the Carnegie Museum, Historical Museum, and the Carnegie Foundation. And two separate boards, two separate missions. The foundation is the 501c3, the nonprofit that can reach out for grants, can receive donations, can bring in money from estates and make good things happen. Whereas the museum board is more the day-to-day operation and displays and other things from there. But 2-3 years ago we got together one time, and it was very good. And this time it stepped it up another notch. I was just real pleased with the interaction discussion we had. I think we counted 15 or 17 combined members of the foundation and the city board that were together. We had discussions. We looked at what our past accomplishments were. We looked at what we're doing presently, and then we looked to the future as to what is out there. What do we, as the boards, want to see happen on this?
It's always interesting, we go back and we look at some of the past projects we've done. And I think one of the things even Brittany Tiller brought up was we're kind of quick to move on. We don't always celebrate our achievements and things like that. And so, when we put stuff up on the whiteboard, there was definitely a longer list of achievements than I think we realized.
Yes.
And so, but having those, 5, 10, 15-year goals and even shorter goals, year to year, those are really important to have. They give us a direction. They give us an aim. They give us the tools that are needed to, when people ask what's going on at the museum, why should I donate or why should I give to this? We have a clear goal, clear view in order to say, hey, yeah, this is what we're doing. We're rocking and rolling.
We are, and it's really happening. Well, you bring rocking and rolling together here. Let's talk attendance. And we've shared this before, but it's worth sharing again. That prior to COVID, we were averaging 250 to 300 people per year coming through that museum. And they had 2 people as far as a board, maybe a couple others. But anyway, long story short, COVID came, we shut down, a lot of nice improvements, painting, display cases, other things, major improvements took place. And in 2022, as Jake Schmidt got involved as director, curator on that, beating the drums, we had 2,500 people that came through. In 2023, they beat them even harder, and we had 5,000 people that came through. This year, we're on course by the end of December that we will eclipse 6,000 people through that door. Just been marvelous.
Amazing. I mean, it really is amazing. And, the amount of people that we see not only coming in from our community, but outside our community, even from out of state,
right,
that come in to see our museum. Again, if you have not been in, we have a beautiful museum with a lot of interesting pieces that really do drive that traffic once people know what's there.
Yes. And it's been phenomenal to see that. I think this year of 2024, there were 6 high school class reunions that came through, and donations were made from those folks that attended the reunion or the reunion committee itself. And so it's just been overwhelming, the response, and we would encourage other folks, if they have family reunions, if they want to get an elementary school class or other things together, to bring them in, because we can custom tailor the descriptive narrative walkthrough for the level of the people that we have coming in.
Oh yeah. Jake does a marvelous job at bringing the interesting facts and the narrative specific to those groups.
Yes, so he does. Wonderful. We're very fortunate to have him as part of our Team Carnegie, as we call ourselves. Let's flip back 100 years or so. Reparation is a word that I'm beginning to learn about, and this is where ancestral things that were brought in. Parsons College, during its early days, had a lot of missionaries. They were trained, and they went out into the United States, but also went out into the world to other countries. And they spread the word of the gospel, but they also were able to bring back different artifacts from these countries. And so we have had a couple other countries, but in order to come and get this, you have to physically come from, in this case, New Zealand, in order to come back. The Moriari ancestral remains, sometime this spring of 25, probably April, we're looking to have representatives from New Zealand will come, and they'll have all their documentation. We will have a presentation, and they will be able to take back. These remains consist of 2 skulls and bones from New Zealand that were brought back by these missionaries. And we have held them since the early 1900s, probably, but the folks from New Zealand are aware of them, and they would like to have them back as part of their museum displays and other things. So this is something that will be coming, and it will be a very nice presentation. But as I said, they need documentation. They can't just say we're so and so and we're coming to. So it'll work forward, but we'll learn, and it may allow other countries that we have documentation of remains and things to get them turned back.
It's not something we normally think about. I think in the museum of, hey, yeah, we're sitting on human remains for some odd reason, and so repatriating those really seems like the logical thing to do. It seems like the emotional thing to do for that culture, and so it's one of those things where I know it'll be FMC will be there. We'll be able there to document that transition and be able to bring that story to you guys as well. And so it's really in my mind a nice thing, especially when it comes to something like human remains and not just an archaeological artifact. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing. Who knows what we may still be sitting on? I know we have a big process that we're going through, which we'll get into a little bit later, of figuring out what all we have. And so yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah. And so we're talking foreign countries, but also Charlotte Wright, who is our associate there, she has shared different magazine articles dealing with Native American Indians and what are the pieces that we have here that might have an opportunity to be on better display or possibly go back to the Indian reservations if that tribe is still intact and functioning and things from there. So we're just opening a whole nother chapter of what can happen on here. So good. I want to know, since you do technology and have a good knowledge of technology, we can call you our techno here. We are trying to spread people a little bit too thin. Right now, we have two engaged full-time people with Jake Schmidt as the curator, and Charlotte Wright that I mentioned a moment ago is there full-time helping with research and other things from there. But when visitors come, when people drop in, when there's a class reunion or whatever, Jake basically drops whatever he is doing, and he will take not 15, not 20, but an hour, up to 2 hours or more.
I don't know if you can come into our museum and just spend 20 minutes.
That's true, too.
There's so much there.
That's true, too. But what can we do to stretch Jake a little bit more? And so we have a committee with Jason, with Jake, and Russ Cooper, who is recently retiring from the Dexter Company, and he had worked in technology there, too. So our challenge is, how are we going to best do this? Do we just have Jake do a tape recording of this is case number 1 and this is here and this is case number 2? There's been discussion about QR codes, and in a moment I want you to share a little bit more about what a QR code is. But what can we do so that when we have 1 or 2 visitors that come in that want to learn about it, we can say, here, take this, take a picture of this, and it'll talk to you, get you to the website or whatever. And Jake can continue with his work that he is there to do. If there's a larger group, a class reunion, 10, 15, 20 people, then to take the hour, the 2 hours for him to give a personal tour from there. But from your techno perspective, please share with the folks a little bit more about what the plans and QR codes and other things are, please.
So there's a beautiful thing with QR codes, and that is, it is a great simple way for just about anybody who has a phone or a tablet to walk up to a QR code, be able to scan it with your camera. It'll bring up a little link or button. You click that, and it'll take you to where we want you to go. And what's nice about those is we can utilize almost any type of media, whether it be audio, whether it be video, whether it be text, images, graphics, things of that nature. And we can utilize that to have either a long format guided tour of Jake going from display to display, and saying his unique and factual information that he so loves to be on camera giving.
Yes, he does.
Or we can have it as a smaller, more digestible, where you have a video on a singular display case, and then you have a written narrative of more of the individual items, where they came from, how old are they, when did we acquire them, things of that nature that other people might find interesting. And so QR codes just kind of unlock everything. Now, if you don't have a cell phone, if you don't have a tablet, and you're not super tech savvy or anything like that, which with most QR codes, you don't have to be very tech savvy. But I'm sure the museum will probably be looking into getting some sort of tablet type device in order to help facilitate those that may not have them, whether that be a younger child or an older adult that just may not have that technology available. We want everybody to be able to come in and enjoy the museum, no matter their age, no matter their income, no matter whatever. And so it's an amazing place to be. We just want to help facilitate that, and not cut Jake up into 4 different pieces and try to have him do absolutely everything.
Yes. He's too valuable to have four little ones. It's good to have one big Jake.
Right.
Good. Okay. Well, this is something coming forward. We'll let everyone know when it becomes reality, and it'll move forward from there. Speaking of moving forward, this is one thing that we have got to take seriously. In the past, sometimes people were on the museum board. It seemed like for life. Once you're on until you can't do it anymore. We have decided that it's best to follow and learn from some of our other successful entities in town, Greater Jefferson County Foundation, Evergreen Cemetery, and other things, as to what they call succession planning. And this is how long can you be on a board of directors, and how do you make sure that you have president, vice president, secretary, treasurer in line for them to step up when the existing leader retires or steps aside. So succession planning, a subcommittee. Joe Hunt has come up very, very good with this. He's been on the Evergreen Cemetery board, and he is their current president. And so he shared with us that what they have done, Greater Jefferson County Foundation has done 3-year terms. So you can sign up for a year, but the maximum you can stay on is 3. If you opt, then you can sign up for a second 3 years. So you could have 6 years as a maximum, spelled out by bylaws on there. And so people can be on, but we've had further discussion, and we will discuss more at our December meeting about this. But we would like to have from our existing crew, because I'll be wrapping up my 6 years. My wife Sherry's been on also. We'll complete our 6 years the 1st of July. And so we need to have succession as to who's going to be the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. And so we're working toward that. And that way we don't just say, sayonara, we're out of here, and there's nobody to pass the baton to.
The bucket's just kind of left there, nobody to pick it up. Yeah, it's definitely one thing you don't want to run into. You want to be able to have people be able to, like you said, hand that baton off to. And I know we've got 2 people, the best description might be interning board members, Ariel Seawall and Laura Biggs. And so it's amazing having them there, being able to get used to the way the board functions, and still being able to even contribute an outside perspective from time to time.
Yes.
And so it really does help. And I think it's a great little training program to have that we have in place right now, in addition to the added succession stuff that we will be implementing and moving towards.
Yeah.
So,
well, these are our first 2 that we have done this 1-year internship, because Sherry and I knew that we were going to be wrapping up our careers, and by doing this, they get on board, they get involved, they can sit there. Is this something I really want to do? Or, boy, I got some ideas. And so far, so good. We're real pleased on that. So, hey, let's take a look at the near term here. We've got December that we're into right now. We've got January. But we have a major project that needs to be done, and that is finishing up inventory. We have been very fortunate to utilize a software called Past Perfect. Chris Small and Charlotte have both worked with that, but Chris is the volunteer on it. But we need to be able to document more and more of what we have in the museum on this for insurance purposes, for just to know what we've got. And so the museum will basically be closed for the month of February and March unless there is a tour, unless there's a group that's coming to town or a family that's got a reunion and they want to do something. And then Jake will be able to book an appointment and say, this day, this time, and I'll give you an hour, 2 hours, or whatever to get them into the museum. But as far as the doors just being open to the public for February and March, we have approved this at the board level, and we know things need to be done, and this is the opportunity. Usually it's our 2 slower months anyway, and so we're going to make use of that.
But we just have those, like you said, that back inventory that we need to be able to go through. We need to be able to spread it out in a much larger setting than what we can really handle with continual foot traffic coming through that door, and be able to keep those artifacts safe in that entire process, keep our patrons safe so they're not tripping over things or having to step over things and whatnot. And so we want to just continue to provide the best service that we can. And in doing that, we kind of did our research and found out that there's actually a lot of museums who take this time during their slower weeks or months to be able to do updates like painting or displays or going through additional artifacts and things like that. So when April comes, come back to the museum. We're going to have some new interesting things out. I'm sure of it. We'll be documenting kind of what we're doing during those months as well. And then, being open by appointment for some of those larger group stuff still.
I think that'll be excellent. That'll be excellent. Also, since some of you are shoppers and you've been aware of Black Friday and Cyber Monday and other stuff, well, we have a Carnegie month running now through the end of December, 50% off all the items that we have in our museum store. These are artifacts, these are items people have donated, and we find that we have duplicates, and there's no reason to keep 3 or 4 of the same item with the space that we have on there. And so Jake is marking everything down 50% on the items that are for sale in the store there. So if you have an interest in a little piece of history and maybe get something for your mom and dad, or if grandma and grandpa are still alive. Anyway, but this is going to be publicized on Facebook and the website. And so we invite you to come and take a look, and 50% discount isn't too bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can't beat half price. And then all of those funds get turned around, get put back into the museum to help with things like displays and different changes, maybe a fresh coat of paint here and there, or addressing a few issues, So it's a great resource for the museum to have that store. It's a great way for people to be able to donate historical items and then, kind of reuse, recycle, things like that when you have duplicates. So definitely, if you like Fairfield history, if you like old things, if you like antique stuff, come to the museum. Great Christmas gifts. So
here's your opportunity at half price.
Exactly.
Can't beat it. So all I can tell you is it has just been a thrill to be involved in this. We were very close friends with our 2 previous leaders, Gene Lutke and Mark Schaefer. Known Mark since, I've known Gene since like 1972, 73. We were neighbors down on West Taylor. And
I know that neighborhood.
You know that turn, okay. And so we knew each other just in passing and on a walk and wave and other things. But then later on in life as social members and other things. And then Mark, I first met when he was doing his student teaching. He had his undergraduate from the University of Iowa, but he came back to Fairfield and decided that he wanted to be able to teach. And so Parsons had a full teacher's education program. And so as part of that, you had to take first aid before you could go out and do your student teaching. And who was the first aid instructor? Me. And so I got to know all these. Most of them are seniors, the fall of their senior year, getting ready to go out and student teach in the spring or vice versa. But anyway, and that's where I got to meet Mark, and then we were neighbors on West Washington and just long-term friends. And as Gene passed, Sherry and I looked at each other and says, we can give some support to Mark and the museum. And so we engaged and got involved at that time. And then Mark's demise was 2 years ago here in December. And we miss them both, but we have a team that makes stuff happen. And Jason is definitely part of that. And Joe Hunt and Russ Cooper and John Godwin and John Carlson, and I'm sure there's some others, that Sandy Gillespie that I'm not naming, but we have an excellent team. We have strata as far as some of us who are seniors, others who are younger that have the energy, but also are full-time employed, so they can only do some part-time at the museum. But we're just very fortunate to have a wonderful, wonderful board that's willing to give of their time and talents, and this combined board meeting that we had the other day was just over the top. Very, very pleased with it. So,
well, I know I was a beneficiary of Mark's teaching abilities. I had him as an art teacher in high school, which really influenced myself. I didn't know Gene nearly as well. I did have interactions with Gene, but I know Mark had a huge impact in my life, and that continued well after high school, and participating with stuff within the museum as well. And so now I'm really happy to be a part of it. And unfortunately, I came on after Mark's passing, but I still kind of feel that legacy connection there.
Good word, legacy, and we'll continue on and be thankful that they were a part of that leadership team.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good. So if you haven't been to the museum, come to the museum. Check us out. We've got a website, which I'll have listed below. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, which is now known as X, and we're also on Instagram. So check us out on the social media all over the internet. We even have our own YouTube channel, which also connects with the Fairfield Media Center's YouTube channel. So yeah, come check it out. Have some fun.
Thank you so very much, and we look forward to your participation, and have a very blessed Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.